Hi everyone, my name is Krista McGarry from the FSS Industry CTO team, and today I'm here to talk to you about our wealth management industry accelerators available on CloudPath for Data. Now more than ever, it's really important to have those personalized experiences with our customers. Whether you're in wealth management, banking, retail, corporate, or even in the insurance industry, everybody is seeking a unique and tailored offering that makes them feel special. Particularly now, given the COVID-19 pandemic, the digital transformation has only been accelerated, which means that our clients need to be really crisp and tailored when it comes to ensuring those digital interactions are unique and providing the value that our customers not only seek, but really expect. So keeping that in mind, there's a lot of different things that happen throughout a person's life that require different financial goals. So for example, if someone is about to grow their family, then maybe they're more interested in an education savings plan to help pay for some of that private education. Likewise, if someone's about to retire, then they're focusing more on money management so their money can go longer as they head into those later years. So knowing where a person is on this life journey can really help us know when's the right time to intervene, but also knowing what products are most relevant to offer them given that time. Now, there's two main data feeds that can go into predicting some of these life events. The first is the financial events, which is what a lot of our banks and wealth management firms are currently doing. So you can think of looking at transaction data for things like pay raises. Did you recently get a large bonus that you're wanting to invest or make sure you have the right strategy in place? Or did you receive a award? But there's also the other side of the coin that do you have a lot of overdrafts that are happening in your account? Is there a current economic crisis that is requiring you to have, leaving you with less funds than you typically have and wanting to be a little bit more strategic or conservative moving forward? Now, the new area that a lot of firms are turning to is really around behavior. So what are they spending money on? When do they spend money? How frequently? How do they manage it? Are they more conservative? Are they aggressive when it comes to some of those strategies? Where do they tend to go? What do they like to do? Even down to the social interactions. Are they, who do they know in the sense of, are they on a different board, a board of directors with some of their colleagues that's also a client? Or are they an alumni of the same school that the financial advisor went to as a connection point for them to immediately make some contact? So keeping all that in mind, we're going to focus on really personalization and how do we bring all of this together in order to meet the new customer demand. So when we think about a client journey when it comes to being more client-centric, typically where our clients start is dynamic segmentation. So typically when it looks at dynamic segmentation, you're using a traditional approach, thinking of where's the person located, what is their age range as kind of natural delineations into different segments. But here we can add an unsupervised machine learning approach to help identify over 108 microsegments that might be unique or different than what you would typically think of. And passing in some of those demographics or commonalities within the client behavior can help us get a more group level overview of how people are different. So from there, we head into this life event space, which is, as we mentioned on that last slide, being able to predict where an individual is in their life event journey. So if they're about to get married versus if they're about to buy a home, and knowing that using going beyond traditional regression models has allowed us to achieve about a 95 to 98% accuracy in predicting up to 8 life events. So now that you know a little bit about where your client is on their life journey, what about their attrition likelihood? Are they overall satisfied with the services you've been offering, or is there a risk that they might discontinue services or move over? So one large thing we've heard from our financial advising firms for a few months now, or I would even say years, is around divorce. So when divorce happens, typically one of the spouses will go to a different wealth management firm, which means that about 50% of the assets that you are currently managing are now moving to another location. So not only being able to identify things like that, but also being proactive about it to prevent that from occurring. So again, adding a machine learning approach here, we can achieve over 281% better prediction compared to using basic regression or statistical models that a lot of the firms are using today. Now, all of this comes together into offer affinity. So now that we know what group you belong to, how you behave to similar individuals, we know where you are on your life event journey, and we know your overall likelihood of attriting, we can create a unique and tailored offer that is unique to you that'll either entice you to stay or help with cross-sell, upsell efforts. And I think, as almost all of our clients know, it's very costly to have targeted campaigns. So you want to make sure that you have as much information as possible and using it from a data-driven approach to ensure that those investments you're making into the marketing are really going to pay back. Now, all of these are industry accelerators that are available on our Cloud Pack for Data platform. And before I jump over into a demo to show how all of these pieces connect together, I just wanted to lay the foundation of what is an industry accelerator. So an industry accelerator is a packaged set of assets that are addressing common business issues that are really meant to be end-to-end. So what we've heard from a lot of our clients in the financial services space is there's a lot of use cases that tend to boil to the top as some of the top ones that our teams are trying to solve. So we've taken that feedback and helped package them into these accelerators so that we can take them from client to client to help speed up those development timelines. Now, when we mean end-to-end, all the accelerators start in the collect rung of the AI ladder with a sample data source that's either publicly available data or synthetic data that our teams have generated to give the client an idea of what it would look like to integrate into their practice. Then heading into organize, we have connections with Watson Knowledge Catalog, which is where we're hosting our business terms and categories to help with that mapping process. Now, where the exciting stuff comes in for the data scientists is in the analyze rung, where we're using a variety of different methods to develop some of our machine learning models, including Watson Studio, Auto AI, and some are using our decision optimization solution, CFlex. Now, all those models are being deployed via REST API endpoint in Watson Machine Learning. And then in the Infuse, we have a sample UI application that shows how they're actually being ingested. Now, the last piece here is with OpenScale. So there's also the ability to add on to a lot of these assets and add that AI governance lens. So the explainability, the bias mitigation, and model drift. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump over to the demo. Okay, so what we have here is that sample UI dashboard that we mentioned on the previous slide. This one in particular is built in R Shiny, but it's just to give an idea for our clients what it would actually look like to interact with this or integrate it into their system. So imagine that I'm a financial advisor that has my subset of clients, and I want to know who's the right individuals to perform a cross-sell, upsell marketing campaign. So the first thing I'm looking at is those segments of those particular people. So here I can see the list of my top action clients, including Leo, Catalina, and Thomas. Now, where the machine learning is coming in is really these circles right here, where I've got that deployed machine learning model running in the back end that's segmenting my people into different groups. So I can see, for example, cluster 6 is the largest cluster, but I can also pick on other ones, and the dashboard will dynamically update to see what that encompasses. So let's keep on cluster 2. I can see some top stats about my segment. So this one in particular is employed men. Their customer top spending category is on personal reasons. They're focused on estate planning, and they're typically married, college educated, in about the 40 to 55 year range. Now, this is just telling you the top one that occurs most frequently, but we can also go to the right-hand side of the screen and see the breakdown. So for example, for choice of pursuit, we saw that the top one was estate planning, but followed closely by increasing their net worth. So knowing that, I can create something that makes a little bit more sense to those particular goals. Now, their type of behavior is not that different, but the one that is interesting is around customer expenses. So here we can see that the majority of them are spending on personal things, but is closely followed by food and health. And some of that information could help me create an offer that is maybe for their favorite restaurant or something that might be more specific to them, but it can also teach me on how to connect with them. So for example, if they really are a bunch of foodies, then maybe I can take them to a nice restaurant or have a conversation on, what's the latest cuisine in New York City. So going down here, we can also live score some of our new segments. So here, as I mentioned, we have those deployed models that are running over in Cloud Pack for Data, and I can actually pass a new customer ID to see how they segment. Here you can see the scoring endpoint where that model is deployed and the unique ID for that particular model. Now, if I go ahead and click segment customers and scroll up to the top, I can see that Catalina was just scored and she was mapped to segment 2. So that's just one piece of the puzzle. But now that we know particular segments of people, we can take it one level deeper and go to the actual individuals. So the next view I have here is our life event prediction accelerator. And again, I can see some of my top action clients that need some attention. I can also see different revenue opportunities that were identified for them, such as financial planning, retirement, etc. Now, if we go back to our top action clients, you'll see that there's different triggers that are telling me why they floated to the top. So, for example, the first one page, it looks like we detected a charitable donation in her bank account. Whereas Jane Wilson has a predicted trigger of being relocated, which is actually the model making those predictions. Now, if I scroll down, I can also see the recent life events for those particular individuals. So, for example, Elizabeth Socorro has a high likelihood of having a child being born soon versus Mike has a high likelihood of being married. Now, the other thing I just want to call out here is we also have a market news insights. And this is really powerful in the sense that we are able to really parse through and perform text analytics on the large corpuses of news that are available to a different financial advisor at a time and highlight some of the top articles that might be relevant for them at that given period. So rather than our advisor wanting to go through hundreds and hundreds of news, which, let's be honest, nobody really has time to parse through all that information, we're helping really do a recommendation on what articles could be most relevant. Now, if I want to look at a particular individual, say Jane Wilson, I can go ahead and click on her profile and see that she's 30 to 40 years old. It looks like she's married from Smallville, Virginia. Her profession is a lawyer and she has a college education. I can also look at her total net worth, which is about $3.6 million, and how it's broken out into external, internal, and things that were manually entered. Overall, her financial profile looks like she makes about $170K per year. She is a homeowner, and we can see some things about her credit score. Now, obviously, I don't think this needs to be said, but this is all synthetic data that we've generated. Now, where the cool stuff comes on this one is we can scroll down here and see her predictions for some of those life events. So the first one we'll look at is home purchase. And here we see that there's a 19% likelihood that she's likely to purchase a home in the next period. Now, the period is flexible. We could change it to 12 years, 1 month, whatever is most relevant for the financial advisor. Now, on the other side is relocation. So here we see a much higher percentage, about 65% chance that she'll be relocating in the next period. So knowing this, it's a pretty safe bet that she's likely to relocate. And so I can have some conversations about making sure she has the right things in place to help with that move. Okay, so now that we know the particular segment and we know where she's in her life event journey, let's look at attrition. So what we have here is a very similar view. We have our top clients and we can see their overall attrition risk. We can also see the overall attrition over time. So for example, it looks like May and August are our high months for attrition occurring. So we can keep that in mind as we reach out to those individuals. I can also see the breakdown of my overall portfolio. So the majority of my clients are at low risk, but there is a subset that are high. And like we did with the other view, I can also click on a particular individual. I can see their predicted attrition rate and know some more metadata about them. Now, what this all builds up to is our offer affinity view. And as I mentioned as we were going through the slides, this is really about pulling all together all that information and passing it into our models in order to get that 360 view of our customer to create a product offer that makes the most sense. So here I could see what products they were last offered and whether they purchased that product or not. So Paige was offered a cash product and she did purchase it, whereas our friend Jane was offered education and she did not purchase. Now here I can also see some underlying analytics behind what those distributions looked like. So So our most offered products for me, my particular financial advisor, is the financial plan and the retirement plan. But if I look at which ones were actually purchased based on those offers, I see that financial plan, about 85% of the time that's accepted, versus the retirement plan has a much smaller percentage. So knowing this information can help me really pick out which one makes the most sense. Now again, I can look at a particular individual like Jane. I can see again her personal information, and I can pass in my credentials over to the Cloud Pack for Data instance to see what her predicted offer affinity is. So here we go. Let's go ahead and predict it for Jane. And we can see that her likelihood of responding positively to a financial plan product is about 89%, which makes sense because if you guys remember, over in the life event phase, she's likely to relocate. So there might be some refinancing that needs to take place to help her with that move. Now I can also see her retirement, about 76%, still good, but not as high as the others. Brokerage, education, cash product, etc. So here, cash product has the lowest chance of being accepted, so we would recommend the advisor does not pursue that. So what we walked through today was our 4 personalization industry accelerators and how they can play to be better together in order to reach that overall goal of next best action or offer affinity. Now the use case we focused on was more for wealth management, but you can also think of this being applied in the banking industry, whether it's on the retail side or the corporate side, as well as with our insurance space. So with that all being said, thank you for your time today, and we look forward to seeing how the industry accelerators can help your clients.